Free your mind.
Weekly roundup, where we take you throughout the world, around the world, in an hour's time. My comrade Lesafri Thomas. Lesafri Thomas is a recipient of the most prestigious Pan-African Global Award. He's a recipient of 2024. This gentleman was awarded as one of the greatest Pan-Africans in this young generation now, the new cream of Pan-Africanists. But Mr. Lesafri comes from France. He is a senior researcher and a journalist, now attached to the SPY Uganda and the Pan-African Parliament. I'm glad to meet you, Comrade Lesafri Thomas.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Thomas Lesafri, there has been colonialism by the Western world and America in Africa. Now I am beginning to see Africanization of Europe. To begin with, your own France. Now, Emmanuel Macron is actually copying from Africa. And particularly it could be from East Africa. And particularly it could be from the Pearl of Africa. And when you say the Pearl of Africa, that must be Uganda. Macron is pushing for removal or change of constitution to allow him to run for a third term. I know that your constitution has been allowing a 5-year, 2-term limit. Now he wants it to be pushed to 3 terms. Each 5 years, those are 15 years. That has been a disease of Africa. So can we say now there is Africanization of the world?
We are definitely
if you could give us a brief about what's the politics in France.
We're definitely noticing an Africanization of the world. It is quite clear that what we can observe in Africa in terms of politics, in terms of economics and society, evolution of society, resonates in much part of the world. And when it comes to people trying to stay in power, there is definitely a lot to learn from the continent. So Macron seems to be taking the same way. France has become an ungovernable country. It is really hard right now to govern France. The opposition parties are leading the National Assembly, so we need to enter coalitions. So in France we have a prime minister and a president, right? The Prime Minister has been taken out of power on Tuesday. So there's no more Prime Minister. There's no more Prime Minister when you're watching this show. While we're recording this show, the Prime Minister is still Prime Minister, but for 2 more hours. So Macron is going to find himself in a situation where he cannot govern the country anymore because opposition forces are not allowing him to pass laws. So many are saying...
So there is a standstill between Macron, the Prime Minister, and the Parliament.
He has dissolved National Assembly in June, thinking he's going to win the election.
He dissolved the Parliament.
He dissolved the Parliament. And then it turns out that he lost. So opposition forces become more powerful. So now he's controlling the government, but he doesn't control the National Assembly. So the National Assembly, his Parliament, is edicting who is supposed to be Prime Minister or not. And they are removing the Prime Minister, so there's no more Prime Minister. The Assembly is removing the Prime Minister that Macron have chosen. So it seems like the country is going to become ungovernable. It seems like many people are saying that without the National Assembly, Macron only have one choice, which is to resign. But if he resigns, it means he cannot go to the next elections, right? He cannot run on the elections. So it seems like he's trying to, what people are saying is that he's trying to speak to the national constitution, the constitution people, to try to change that constitution and say that his second term was not a second term because he didn't finish it. So if he decides not to finish and run for third elections, he will change the constitutions, right? And so that's what we call the Africanization of the world. Wherever you go,
Africanization of the world.
The transparency, you see things have been changing. You see that the politics and the economics that we are seeing here are now more and more happening there, right? And that is for a very simple reason. That is for a really simple reason. When it comes to politics and economics, Capitalism have run wild in Africa. He has done whatever he wanted to do because people came with big sum of money here. They could manage to change constitutions, to change laws in the advantage of business. Now that they have experienced that, now that they have experienced being in a place where they can do whatever they want, those are global films. When they go back to Europe, when they go to the US, when they go to Russia, they want the same treatment. They want similar things. They want similar privilege. They want to don't pay tax. They want like free tax exemption. They want all those things that they learned from here. Now they're calling that side to do it. So what you observe in France right now is fascinating because you have a president that is trying to do a third term, which is what we have seen around the continent. And at the same time, he's using the IMF and the rating agencies, the economic agencies to say, hey, if you don't allow me to run for longer, the rating agencies are going to downgrade our marks,
Our economy.
So they will say the French economy is not as
booming.
safe. It's not as safe as it used to be. And they will say now you have to go, and when you ask for a loan in international markets, you pay for more. Right now, Uganda pay a lot of money when he try to get a loans in international markets. France pays smaller. But the amount of that money that they have to repay slowly but surely is growing. And now the debt of France is bigger than the debt of most African countries by percentage of GDP, which would have never been possible 10 or 15 years ago. So when we speak of the Africanization of the world, what we also see is that some solutions are coming from here that they don't want to watch yet.
So here they say, this is a dictator. He has been in power for 15 years. But then in France, they are trying to copy. When you see England, the Queen of England died in power. Her son is going to die in power. The one that will succeed her son will die in power. When you see in Asia, Qatar and the entire
China, Thailand,
leaders have died in power. Those are not dictators. They will only bring an excuse. No, this is a monarch. Okay, it's okay. That's your system, but we also have ours. So steadily, slowly, they are copying. Africanization of
the world. You like this one, eh? Keep this one in mind. You will see. Just as a we also see it in terms of religiosity. The way religion is practiced in Africa become the way the world is practicing religion. The way chorus are there, the way people dress up in church, the way they participate to the community. It's happening in Europe as well. My own grandfather have a priest that is from Central Africa. Right?
Your grandfather?
My very own grandfather would have been a Catholic since he was born. He have had a priest that were from our province, then from our country. Now it's from Africa, and literally every mass you can go to will have a black priest from Africa. So what does it mean? It means that Africa is bringing back the Bibles to atheists in Europe, right? Africa is bringing back the Bibles and the words of the Lord to atheists in Europe that now are looking at it in another directions. So it is true to say
we are coming to teach you.
The church, the people that currently teach the Bible in Europe and especially in France, mainly come from the African continent. Gabon, Cameroon, Senegal, Nigeria, I don't know. So those are the countries now that are really influential into bringing back religiosity and spirituality in Europe, which has had a big issue with religiosity and spirituality for a long time.
Very good. Now, Comrade Lesafri, Senegal has commemorated the 80th anniversary of a colonial era massacre of African soldiers who fought for France during World War II and were shot by French soldiers, your own people there, in 1994 for demanding fair treatment and payment on their return.
Correct.
When somebody says, please pay me fairly,
even the please is not supposed to be
it
there.
attracts death penalty.
After 4 years of fighting for France in Europe, fighting for our freedom, the freedom of the French people that was undermined by the German occupations, right? When we got occupied by the Germans, it was in 1939. They took over France really, really quick. My own family have had to exile the country, go to the south to avoid the demons of the Germans army. We call on our empires. We went to Senegal and to all West Africa, all North Africa, and the people were being part of the army, were sent to Europe with no visa. No one asked them visa. They used to come to find them in the villages and take the strongest men. The strongest men were obliged to join the French army, so they come to defend my ancestors, right? Some of those leaders would become the most influential leaders of Francophone Africa in 1950, 1960 for independence after. The first president of Algeria was a colonial troop, Ahmed Ben Bella. He was so good. He was so good at killing Germans, the French even give him a cross, the war cross they call him. He was so good at killing Germans that he got the war cross when many French soldiers didn't. He was so good at being a soldier within the French army at that time that he even wrote later that that's how he discovered freedom. When he saw that the French could be losing against the Germans like this and that they would fight for their freedom and say, no, we're fighting for our freedom, that's when he realized he should fight for his very own freedom. So those soldiers become highly influential into the wave of independence for Africa. 80 years ago, what happened? We were it was the end of the war. The French were supposed to be part of the winners of the war, right? So the Black Army was sent back to Dakar. Before they were sent back, they asked for being paid because the white soldiers of the French army were being paid. So they asked, where is our share? Where is our share? The general of the army at that time said, no, listen, we're going to pay you when we are back in Africa, when we are back in Dakar. That's where the money is going to be. So all the soldiers decided to join the boat and come back to France. We're speaking of all West African soldiers. They were called tirailleurs sénégalais, but the tirailleurs King African Rifles. It was a similar thing that the King African Rifle here in East Africa. The soldiers, Senegalese soldiers arrived. They're from Senegal, they're from Mali, they're from Guinea, they're from Mauritania, they're from Niger, they're from all West Africa, right? Because remember, at the time, the French didn't want borders between those countries. It's only when they realized that there will be independence that they can actually ask for such things. When they arrive in Dakar, they ask for their pay. Can we be paid? Then the general say, no, listen, 1 day pass, 2 day pass, 3 day pass. And then after 1 or 2 days, he tell them, no, go back to your village. We will pay you when you're back in your village. But now everyone knows that how is it going to be paid in the village, because now they don't even know which village this one is this one, and whatever they're going to find the village or not. So the soldiers refused to go without being paid. The soldiers refused to go without being paid because they were participating to the war, and that was the pay that they've been promised. Rather than paying the soldiers, what did the French do? They took the white soldiers and they shot on the soldiers that wanted to ask for a fair pay. They shot the soldiers that wanted to be paid, and they killed large numbers. Until today, we're not so sure about how many tirailleurs were killed. Those families, the family of those soldiers still have not been paid 80 years after.
80 years?
Yes. And remember, a few weeks ago, we had an interview with Colonel General Barbecue in Haiti, which was telling us that the French made Haitian slaves pay until 1975 for a debt that they have from 18th century. But the French still are refusing to pay for the soldiers that came to defend their freedom 80 years ago. You know? There's a balance here. Imbalance here. Big imbalance.
I get you. So now, actually, Faye said that the Macron actually acknowledges these mistakes. Emmanuel Macron acknowledges the mistakes. And so, if you acknowledge the mistakes, then you must pay the price. You must pay the price.
Bring back the archives.
Yeah.
Pay back the.
One of the things Faye is saying is that France, for the last 80 years, has been actually keeping so much information in their own archives.
They keep the archives.
Yeah, they deny. For instance, for them, they are saying that around 35 people died. But the information that Faye has is that about over 400 people were killed. For France, they are saying they only want to account for 35. That's what they acknowledge. That's what they acknowledge. Imagine 35 people compared to somebody saying 400. Over 400.
Over 400. So
even the reparations they are discussing, it's like France is saying, for us, we know about 35 people. But Faye is saying you killed about 400 people, and you must pay the price.
And you must bring the archive because this is our archive.
Like last time you said they arrested the French spies in where?
In Niger.
Hey.
Yes.
You open the Pandora. Let's see.
Let's see what's happening.
Hey,
if you say that nothing happened, then
let's
if
see.
you say
Why are you hiding?
35 people. What do you have to hide?
Why are you hiding?
What do you have to hide?
Yes.
And you need to remember what happened with the British, because this is a structural problem. It's not France versus Senegal or France versus West Africa. It's colonial power keeping the memories so they can define the narratives. There were at the same time a rebellion in Kenya by the Mau Mau, right? There were rebellions all around the continent against that colonial order that was illegitimate and that was unfair, right? So there were colonial resistance. The Mau Mau, you know what the British did? They wait for most of the Mau Mau to die first. And then they recognized that they were freedom fighters, and then they recognized that they were part of the army, and then they pay back the money, they pay back reparation. But they first wait for most of them to be dead. They first wait for most of them to be dead. And so the colonial forces, the colonial presence were guiding. We're going on the direction of massacres. From 1945 to 1960, people are waking up and says, no, we don't want this type of colonialism anymore. No, we do not want this type of unfair treatment. No, it is not okay. It is not okay. We fight for you. You come to call us for help. We fight for you. Then we come back. You don't pay us. It is not okay. It is not okay. And it's the structural issues with colonialism was never ever treating people right and fairly, but yet was saying is treating people right and fair. And that disconnections between what they say versus what they do is what historians and Pan-Africans like us need to look at. They said they were helping Kenya to get independent. No, Mau Mau did. And they fight for it. They said that the independence of Senegal was negotiating in 1960. Yes, but there were no negotiation in 1944 when the Senegalese tirailleurs asked for a fair pay for their share of the war. So all of this, we need to know the archive. We need to know our history continentally, so we can fight those that try to define what happened.
Very good. You have finished on a good note. Now, let's switch to another one. We are still on Senegal and Chad. Chad and Senegal are closing French military bases. In fact, Chad has said it is sending its defense to cooperation agreement with former colonial power France, a move that will require French soldiers to leave the Central African country. Foreign Minister Abdelrahman Kolamala called France an essential partner, but said it must now also consider that Chad has grown up, matured, and is a sovereign state that is very jealous of its own sovereignty.
Correct.
That is Chad and Senegal. Correct. Senegal and Chad are closing French military bases in Africa.
And
recently,
those presidents are really young. Young presidents.
But also, let's look
at
which ones have been closed recently. They are French military bases that have been closed before.
So in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, the French army have been kicked out. Right?
So now we are adding Chad and Senegal.
Now we are adding Chad and Senegal, which means that there will be no more French soldier in all the Sahel.
The
Sahel is out of French soldiers. If you find the French soldiers there, then he's a secret spy or secret services, and he has nothing to do there, which is why the Niger authority have cleaned up also that space. So what's interesting is that Chad is far east, right? And Senegal is far west of the Sahel.
So they are keeping their territory now. They're in charge of the entire territory.
The country in the middle, Burkina, Mali, Niger, they already have said they don't want French involvement because they feel like the insecurity is coming from them. They feel like the rebels are being fueled by them and not being fought by them. And so what happened is, we can start with Chad because what happened was really unexpected. The Chadian president is young. He's a new president. He's the son of the previous president. The previous president was killed under weird circumstances, and he became president, right? And since he became president, he's trying to find new allies, to find new ways, and he's doing politics in a really interesting way. The French cooperation ministers came in N'Djamena on Thursday, and the way he spoke, the way he behaved, frustrated the president so much that when the guys left, the president signed a decree saying no more French troop, no more French base in Chad. Can you imagine that in both Chad and Senegal, French army was there since more than 120 years. 120 years of foreign army presence. And why? Why was it like this? Why was it not negotiated that after independence, France must take out its soldiers? They didn't want to take out the French soldiers because they choose the president, right?
Oh,
and if you choose
the foreign army influence who becomes the president. But then you're saying we are independent.
They called them independent, so it looked like people were independent, but the French were selecting who is going to become president. And when you have an unfair leader, when you have a leadership that is not solid, when you have leadership that doesn't come out of the people, you have a weak leadership that can be manipulated. And so they wanted a leadership that can be manipulated. And so rather than telling him, go and take your independence, like now you have your independence, you do your thing, what they said was like, listen, if you take your independence without our support, you're going to be removed. You're going to be taken down. We're going to arm the rebels. We're going to give information to the rebels here and there. So the president at that time, they all signed agreement that if they are under attack, the French army can come anytime, any day, and re-establish their power. President Omar Bongo did that in 1995, president of Gabon. They were marched in the streets. The entire country were in the streets. His own army refused to shoot the people. What did he do? He called the French paramilitaries, parachutists, the name of the brigade. They came in Port-Gentil. They came in Libreville. Pointe-Noire in Congo-Brazzaville, and they calmed down everyone.
They killed,
they blocked, they killed, and they reinstalled the power of the former president, right? That happened
and they killed and the entire world kept quiet.
1995, in Congo-Brazzaville, there was civil war, so people didn't really stay quiet, but it was part of the war already. And in Gabon, it was part of an election that the guys had rigged, and so the population knew. They came in the street, the French army calmed down everyone, and the president stayed in power. So those are the type of agreement. Those are agreements in favor of political puppet. Those that are in the hands of foreign powers and that are not acting for their people.
Puppets.
So all of those military agreements were signed since 1960. And Chad in 2024, for the very first time, decided like he's going to write the agreement. Why did he do it? It's interesting to think of why did he do it. Because the problem is the arrogance of the French army here. Chadian president recognized that the French army had some skills and could be useful in certain situations if they respect the law of the country. The point is always to respect the law of the country that invites you, isn't it? Me, am I coming here and trying to impose my rules and my law? No. You respect the law of the country, then you are welcome by the people. If you serve the people, you will be welcomed by the people. Boko Haram attacked Chad. 6 or 7 months ago, they attacked like a Chad. Boko Haram attacked it from Cameroon, from Nigeria. The Chadian army knew that there were an attack coming, but they needed like some satellite image to make sure to locate the rebels, right? Those images that the French army had, the French Secret Service had, the French army had those images, and they had all the information about that attack. They didn't give the president. They refused to give the president. They refused to give the ministries of the army. They refused to provide the information that they have about Chad to the Chadian president that was being under attack. How are you supposed to react? They call themselves your friends, but then the day you have a problem, they all stay quiet. So those are the type of things that make things unacceptable. You have to share the information. You are here because you are invited, not because you are on your own. And the French army in all the Sahel were acting like they're home, like they own the place, like they control the place. They would call ministers, they would call president, like just like that. There were no respect, no dignity, right? And so Chad have said, no, we are done with this because we do not need that anymore. We are strong enough. Remember, Chad is currently providing a lot of weapons to Emeti in Sudan.
What?
Emeti. General Emeti of Sudan. Yeah, the civil war of Sudan. Of course, Emeti is considered Chadian by Chad government. Chad consider that Emeti is Chadian more than Sudanese because of his tribe and because of the line, because of the link between the Zahawa that are in power in Chad and the people of Sudan. So to get back to the Chadian case, the French army is going to leave. This is good news. This is good news. However, what would be bad news if another foreign army come to replace them? But so far, We have Russia or China, but so far we haven't seen such things. And in the same time, Senegalese president said the same thing. He said, "Listen, we do not need that help anymore. We have our army. It's been 60, 70 years we are independent. We do not need foreign army." And what I liked with him is that he came to French media to explain him. He came to French media and he said, "Listen," said to the journalist, "Listen, if Senegal have had a military base in center of Paris, would you accept it? If China,
The answer is no.
if China would say, no, listen, let's put a military base in the north of the country because UK and the Netherlands are being a bit dangerous. We want to make sure like what's going on." Will the French say yes? No, never, never. Will Ugandan accept that France open a military base with 800 of the best military right here in the outskirts of Kampala or Entebbe? Never.
The answer is no.
The answer is no, because your money, your army are supposed to be sovereignty. Your money, your army, and your election are supposed to be sovereignty. People are not supposed to tell you what to do on those things. And I can even add the constitution that is supposed to be part of sovereignty. So now, Chad said no more soldiers, and Senegal said no more soldiers here too. No more soldiers here
Senegal
too.
now.
And not only
We have
no more
crossed Senegal
soldiers,
now.
not only no more soldiers, but also bring back the archive of the soldiers that you killed in 1944.
Yes.
Bring back
Pay
the
for-
archive.
pay for
What,
your deeds.
What have you done all that time? What have you done all that time?
1944.
Why is that possible? Why is it possible that suddenly, in the space of 1 year and a half, the French army is finally gonna get kicked out of Africa after more than 100 years of presence? Why is it possible? Why is it possible? It is possible because young leaders are raising
I've
power.
started imagining.
It's a young leader in Senegal. It's a young leader in Burkina. It's a young leader in Chad. Niger and Mali, they are oldish. They are 50s. But the bravest one, they're really young. And as young leaders, they come with very great explanations. They come with very great explanations. And so they followed by their people. It's really popular to do this type of...
And I think now they're being, I think now these ones now taking the route, emulating from Burkina Faso.
Burkina, Mali and Niger
Yes.
now are free.
Traore.
Those
So you see
five
that
countries-
effect?
It's a
That
Pan-African. It's a
Yes.
Pan-African project. They free the Sahel from the French. Does that mean that no other foreign services are there? No. The Algerians are really present. That we know. They have a big part of the desert. They have the biggest side of the Sahel and the Sahara. So they are still present. So there will be games being played around there. They're not supporting
But
the
we shall
same
reach there.
factions.
We are going one
But
by
at
one.
least it's a Pan-African agenda.
It's a
People
move,
can
yeah.
speak to each other. It's no foreign troops. It's no foreigners, right? Why is it interesting that Senegal is making that move now? Senegal is making that move now because of what we spoke about last week. The president has won the recent elections. His prime minister is solid. The president is solid. And so now they're moving forward. First is Tiaroy, right? The massacre. Secondly, they take out the French base. You remember I used to stay in Dakar, so I went to that French base.
you stayed in Dakar.
No, I stayed, and it was not far from the French. I
Were
didn't.
you a spy there?
I wasn't spying. I was not part of the spy yet. It's only after I reached you. But no, the military base, you get too confident. You cannot be an occupation army. You don't occupying the country, but yet your military are there. It's a problem. We have nothing to do there. Yet, what we have to say in front of this camera right now, so it will be written in history, right? There is 3 more military bases in France, and those military agreements that Chad has decided to go out of still exist in Cameroon, in Gabon, in Guinea. Guinea, I think they abolished it before. But they still exist in certain countries, right? And right now, Ivory Coast, Gabon, and Djibouti remain the 3 main allies of French presence in Africa. Ivory Coast president is 100% in the hands of French capital. He is definitely really close to French politicians. Is the godfather of his own kids. Is the French president Nicolas Sarkozy. So really close people, really close people. And in Gabon, we have had a coup d'etat last year. So we don't know yet how the power is going to align. Is it going to align with France or against France? What we know is that we still have a solid military base in Gabon. And that military base means that the people can intervene here in Uganda. Right? Is they not so far from us? And a military base in Djibouti. The military base in Djibouti also is not that far from Uganda, so they could also intervene in East Africa if they want. They have the capacity, they are 2 hours away from us. And then there is a military base in Ivory Coast, right? And those 3 military bases need to be shut down, will be shut down. And I encourage any French officials that watch this show, because I know they like to see what I say. I encourage any official that watch this show to just leave. Let's live on our own terms. Let the French army decide to live on themselves and not being kicked out by the next young president that will raise power, because you do not stop history, Irumba. History cannot be stopped. It goes one direction, it doesn't turn back. And now the direction is taken is to expel French military presence out of this continent, and that's what should be done. That's what history calls us to do. That's what should have been done in 1960, and the continent would be a better place to live for its people right now.
Very good. You finished on a good note. Comrade Lissafri, in Syria now. We're going to Syria. We are taking the world one by one. Now we're in Syria.
We're in the Middle East.
Yes. Now,
where there's a lot of petrol for us.
Rebels in Syria have taken over of Syrian city, Aleppo, leaving about 25,000 Christians stranded. And the rebels have reignited a war from which Syria never recovered. One in which around 300,000 people died, and around 6 million were displaced. So let's talk about the Syrian conflict now.
Listen, we are not specialized about Syria, but what we know is that Syria has been at war, and that war seems to be not finishing, right? We do not know who is fighting there and why they're fighting for. But what we can notice is something that could interest our readers, our viewers. When you look at the situation, you need to look at different media, different sources. I've been watching this news in Francophone media. The Francophone media called the people that took Aleppo jihadist, Islamic. Jihadist, Islamist, right?
Yes.
Then I looked at Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, because those people, opposition forces, opposition leaders, right? And then you look at Americans, and then Americans call those guys rebels. Who are the people that are taking Aleppo right now? We don't know. But one thing that we notice is that Aleppo was supposed to be protected by Russians. The Russians have a military base in Aleppo that they use to hide the African gold. Mark that. The African gold that they steal in Sudan, it goes to a military base north of Damascus. I forgot the exact name of the city, but there's the biggest military base.
In Syria?
Yes, because the French have had military base in Africa, but now Russia also have military base overseas. Russia also have military base in Syria. And guess what? They take the gold of Sudan. They bring the weapons of the Sudanese war. They bring the weapons of the Congolese wars from that military base. So that military base is really key for Russians. It's a military base on the Mediterranean Sea. So they can now project themselves everywhere around the 3 continents, Middle East, Europe, and Africa. And so where were the Russians to protect the city? Where were they? We are being told that the Syrian government is partnership with the Russian for its own security. We are being told that Russia has won the civil war, that Russia have helped the president to win the civil war. But now suddenly, in the space of 3 or 4 days, you have a whole coalitions of people that gather together and take the second biggest city in the country. Second biggest city in the country. It's like some rebels would come from Congo and take Gulu in 2 days. Would we accept that? And now we are a foreign power that is here that tell us, no, they're going to protect us if such things happen. But where are they? Where are the Russians? So we are observing, we are looking at the situation. We want to see, but personally I'm really interested to see what Russian involvement is going to be, because they're already present in a lot of war, and now it's a really key ally. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, is a really key ally, so we'll see what's going on. But we're watching, and we will keep you updated about it.
That's Russia now. We are going to Namibia.
Hey.
What's happening in Namibia, comrade?
A few weeks ago, we have
just right now, before we came here, you had some good breaking news. a woman takes over as president.
First woman president of Southern Africa, if I'm not mistaken. I hope, if I'm mistaken, please tell us on NBS or tell us on the video that we put online on YouTube. But it must be the first woman in Southern Africa to be elected. If we take Tanzania as an East African country, of course, because Tanzania had a woman leadership before. Let me just tell her real name. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah.
Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, 72 years old, won with 57% of the vote, floating prediction that she might be forced into a runoff, which did not happen. Netumbo Nandi has been elected Namibia's president and will be the country's first female leader. Results released by the country's electoral commission show the 72-year-old won with 57% of the vote, according to the official results declared on Tuesday. The Namibian nation has voted for peace and stability, Nandi Ndaitwah said after being declared president.
Correct. Why we remember that the Frelimo in Mozambique almost lost the last election. We remember that the ANC of South Africa almost lost the last elections. We remember that the Botswana Liberation Party lost the elections, right? So the fact that Namibia, SWAPO, is still in power is a reinforcement of the Freedom Fighters League, right? So ANC is still there in power in South Africa, ZANU-PF is still in power in Zimbabwe, SWAPO is in power in Namibia, and all the other countries have moved towards democracy. Frelimo still being in between, as we spoke about last time. It is interesting because this is a key province for key minerals, right? They're finding a lot of petrol right now in Namibia, so you have a lot of international companies that are interested into taking that petrol out of Namibian oceans.
Is there your brother also?
Give it, of course, Total is going to be here, but I don't have capitalist brother myself. If I had brother in petrol, I would be,
You'd be richer.
Maybe I would be richer, but probably I would be poorer in my soul. It is interesting because Johannesburg is going to host the next summit of the G20. And what it means is that the region is really still key into world affairs. Johannesburg have hosted the G20 and the BRICS summit. No other city in the world have had such record. Neither the Chinese, neither the Russians. It's going to happen in 2025, right? The government choose the Johannesburg over Cape Town, which is a really great choice, because Johannesburg is going to be the heart of the G20 and had been the heart of the BRICS. Let me just explain what it means, because the G20 are the original G7, which were Northern NATO countries, right? They were mainly rich countries from the West that used to rule the world. When United Nations was taking decisions, they would take other type of decisions, right? Then the people say, the Chinese and the Russians, they start to say, no, this is not fair. That's not how things work. We're going to create the BRICS, right? So they create the BRICS to oppose the G7 on the power of that they have. And now South Africa used to not be part of the G7. And they used to complain, how can you guys do a G7? There's no African countries. How can you guys call it like a fair forum for international affairs? There's no African countries. So by complaining, now the G7 opened and become the G20. So it takes more economy. It takes decisions that are a bit larger, but it still excludes most of the country in the world. Only one African country is there, South Africa. Only one is there, South Africa. Is the one hosting the next summit. So South Africa is playing in favor of the BRICS, is playing in favor of G20, is playing against Israel in the International Criminal Court. Those guys are being legendary. The record, the diplomacy of South Africa right now is the best in the world. No other cities have hosted G20, BRICS summit. What is next? Are they going to organize the American election from Johannesburg? Because maybe that's the type of things they can do. Johannesburg have placed himself at the center of world affairs, and South Africa is currently really on the first wave of global south countries that impose their message, and they impose the message of the African continent in many institutions, many places, and they're doing it, and we listen to them, and the world listen to them and hear them strongly and with a powerful voice. And that's a success for African diplomacy all around the world.
Very good, thank you. Now we want to end up with two more issues. One is about Besigye, and the other is about Trump. Let's begin with Trump. Trump, US President-elect Trump said on Saturday that he would impose 100% tariffs on BRICS countries if they didn't abandon plans to create an alternative currency to the US dollar. De-dollarization. The fight with Russia and China and so on. So the idea is that Trump, in his own message, he actually threatens that first of all, we shall not allow you to trade with the greatest country called America. He's telling China and Russia. Yeah? So he's still believing that this kind of headmaster style of lifestyle in the world, that America, you know, his campaign was tied against around MAGA. MAGA, Make America Great Again. Make America Great Again. Trump wants to make it a global campaign for all of us to fall in his campaign. That even Russia, China, Japan, you, France, all of you should work towards the great idea of Trump making America great again. What does that mean? It means that all of you must work towards developing America, not your countries. And he threatens, if anyone tries to start a plan to de-dollarize America, so as to bring us down, we will actually stop you from trading with us. But also we shall impose taxes, 100% taxes on you. What do you make of that? Because this is his entry point now. So it means he's entered. Remember, the last time he ended his term on a good note with Russia and China. You know, he even visited and
Kim Jong-un.
Yes, North Korea.
Yeah, correct.
He seems to be beginning his second and last term on a bad note. Because the moment you start by threatening Russia, China and so on in the BRICS now there are 7, including South Africa. Nobody wants to make America great again at the expense of their own countries. Even if it was Uganda.
Outside of America.
I don't want to promote America to become a giant, to come here and start commanding me that you must allow LGBTQ community in your country. Correct. If you don't, I'm cutting aid. Correct.
And now you're trading in dollars, so you having not enough dollars.
MAGA, Trump is telling you, if you're in Uganda, any business you are doing, please deal in dollar.
Yes.
If you are dealing in Uganda shillings or Kenya shillings, you are not doing our job.
Yet we're sending most of our coffee, which is the principal export, to, and we're selling most of the gold, the second biggest export of this country, to Dubai, which is also don't use the dollars. So why is it that we have to constantly use the dollars to trade? Why is it that the farmers here need to be paid in a price that is fixed in dollars? Why do we do that? It is interesting with Donald Trump. At least it's really clear imperialism, American imperialism. He make American imperialism really clear. With the other type of administration that we have had before, they come, they tell you words, they like to sing and to say, oh, you are beautiful, or the Pearl of Africa is still the Pearl of Africa, blah, 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 blah. But at the end, they act the same way. They act on their own advantage. At least Trump is saying it. Said we are going to move at our own advantage. We are going to do things our own ways. If you move away from the dollar, we decapitate you.
We will fight you.
We will fight you. This is totally imperialist. This is absolutely imperialist to think that everyone all around the world, you and I, should trade in dollars. Why should we trade in dollars?
Should work towards promoting you, developing your country.
But
and at the same time he's doing that, he's actually making his wall against Mexico stronger. The terms of you getting into America is becoming even more
difficult.
Almost difficult.
That's what he says. But remember, he needs the Mexican workers for his farms and for all the industry to function, because Americans don't want to be workers anymore. So they still have a lot of work to do. But what is interesting is that first, it's blind, is total imperialism, and at least we see it for what it is. There is no doubt about that. We see American imperialism. We should not even have thought that Americans could be different, but at least it's clear it's American imperialism. Second point is to say he feared the breaks. He feared the de-dollarization, because if he didn't fear it, he wouldn't speak about it before ever he became president. Have you heard him speak of, like, I don't know, LGBT in Uganda? Have you heard him speak about, I don't know, like, what's happening in Argentina? No. He speak of the de-dollarization of the world. And there's one element.
It's his biggest threat.
And you know why he fears it?
No?
Because it is currently happening. And there's one element that proves the entire world that the world is getting away from dollars.
It's beginning to get away, and even...
You know what it is? The price of gold. Look at the price of gold right now. Go online. Check the price of gold and tell me when was the last time it was that expensive to buy gold. Gold has become the currency to replace the dollars. The BRICS are currently buying a lot of gold to put in their central bank, so their money can be as strong as the dollars, and they can impose their money within international exchange. So Donald Trump don't say that as don't do it. He says that as I know you are currently doing it. He says that as I know as you are currently doing it, and he speaks about it before is even president. So it must be working. My point to that is that I'm not surprised of American imperialism. I do believe that any imperialism will act such way. When the economy becomes strong enough, the national bourgeoisie need to find opportunity in other countries. And to do so, they need to control the country where they're going. Whatever it was, Germans, national bourgeoisie trying to take France in 1939, or it is British imperialism trying to take Uganda in 1870, it is the same things. The rich can't make enough money in their country, so they have to go to someone else's country. So that will happen, that America is imperialist. Don't get twisted. It's clear. It is clear that Americans' economic interest is imperialist. What is more interesting is that they fear that is the end of an era. They fear it's the end of an era. They can see that people have found a solution against the dollar. When we didn't have find solutions before, now the solution is clear. We're buying the gold, we're putting it in the central banks, and then we start the new currency on that gold. And what do you believe? Do you believe in gold or in dollars? Yeah, I believe in gold. I believe in gold. We all believe in gold.
Even if it was sold in Uganda shillings, as long as I have gold.
You have your gold,
it's not about the dollar.
You have your gold, you're safe.
In fact, America wanted last time to foil Russia by blocking all those dealing with Russia in their dollar. Russia said it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Russia is going on very well.
But
and it is Russia even championing this.
China,
and
Russia also, but China is buying stuff from us in dollars. Do you think they like that? They don't like that. And us, we can't accept the yuan because we have to buy other things from overseas now, right? So now, if you want to buy certain equipment for trains, for roads, for airports, or whatever, we have to buy that in dollars. So that's where the problem stands. The dollar is too important in the global economy. But also you need to remember that not only we're using dollars, but when we use dollars, there's a law in the US that says that a judge can judge whatever it is corruption or not. So the American judge can take someone, you and I, we use dollars right now. It's illegal according to American law. An American judge can come and tell us, no, you guys have to pay 2 billion of whatever tax or whatever they call it. But we have to pay. We have to pay because the power of the dollars is not just an economic power. It is also a power that is a judiciary power from Americans themselves. So maybe just to place Uganda in that story.
I actually saw a Ugandan case here, Dr. Sudir, with DFCU Bank.
Okay.
After winning here, they went to
they had to go to America because they will use dollars. That's the rule currently. And what is important to say, maybe to close that part, what is the role of Uganda in all that? Uganda has centralized, have exported more and more gold over the last 3 or 4 years, right? Many believe that this gold is coming out of Congo, and others believe that this gold is also coming with refugees from Sudan.
What do you believe in?
Personally, I do believe that.
Where could it be coming from?
It is for me. It is quite clear that it is a Congolese gold that we are exporting. We're not
So
going,
Uganda is stealing from Congo.
so Ugandans is stealing from Congo, and we.
Very good. You have said
it has
that
been
one very well.
it has been 3 years. Ugandan army is present in the east of Congo. 3 years this week. It was 3 years ago that they started the operations. I think it is important that, due to that geopolitical context, due to the fact that Americans fear that they lose their domination on the dollars, due to the fact that China and Russia and all the BRICS power want to replace the dollars by backing it up with gold, due to the fact that Africa is the main exporters of gold in the world. Us, in Uganda, we should look at all of this, because we have gold in Sudan, there's gold in Sudan, there's gold in Congo, we are exporters of gold, and we export the gold always to the same place, Dubai. Are we powerful with Dubai? No, Dubai is powerful here. Right, not the rivers, but yet we are the ones selling our gold. I do believe that it is time for Africa to stop selling its gold. African gold should remain within the continent physically, not exported and put in an account somewhere for money. No,
in Dubai.
Physically in Africa, because now look. Superpowers all around the world, the most powerful nations, China, Russia, Brazil, all those powers, they come together and they say, what do we need? African gold. What do we need to sort out the problem? African gold. Right? And that has been repeating over history again and again and again and again. And so us, we're sitting on that gold and we have no strategy about it. We're happy to sell it and to say, good, we're exporting gold like never before. I think we exported $4.5 billion of gold last year or something like this. It is enormous. It is great. It probably brings a lot of country to Uganda. But it is not a strategic use of that gold. We need to strategically use the gold and say to the world power that want to buy the gold to de-dollarize that, yes, we are willing to help you. But where do we sit now? Where do we sit on the table? Why don't we see Congo, Sudan, Uganda sitting on the tables of the BRICS, of the powerful BRICS, when they speak of de-dollarization? Why can't we have a more strategic use of the gold that we have in Africa so we raise up the power of the continent? The United Nations don't want to have an African country sitting at the Security Council. Good, we're not selling the gold to no one in the Security Council until we have a chair there. You see what I mean? This is the type of strategy that should be Pan-African and global. Pan-Africanists like us, we need to come with solutions like this, saying, listen, now the gold is important. We look at the geopolitics, we understand there's things happening. We need to come with a strategy ourselves. Those guys have strategy about our gold. We don't even have a strategy about our gold. Does it make sense? Make no sense. So it is interesting, it is important that we also look at the situation from Uganda and think, what is it that we can do now that everyone is looking for that gold?
Very good.
It wasn't the case 10 years ago.
Very good, Comrade Lisafre. Our last argument here is Besigye Museveni, William Ruto, Martha Karua. In the Pan-African context, Museveni has been looked at, first of all, from the region, EAC. East African region now has attracted, we used to be only 3. Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, finished.
It was a small family, eh? Very small family.
We added on Rwanda, slowly. Yeah. We added on South Sudan, Sudan, DRC, Somalia.
Yeah.
Now I think we are 7.
Yeah. And even with IGAD.
Yes.
IGAD has been growing.
Now, why? Museveni has been acting as the headmaster of the East African region. And everybody has been believing in him. Then at the continental level, Museveni has been seen as a man who can replace Gaddafi. Gaddafi's ideas, the Kwame Nkrumah's ideas, the Patrice Lumumba's ideas, the Julius Nyerere. In fact, Museveni takes this Nyerere
he takes all of this
as his godfather in Pan-Africanism.
Yeah, correct.
So what were their dreams? Their dreams were begin by consolidating our energies in East Africa. Build on that to build a bloc like you have been seeing SADC, like you have seen ECOWAS. Then those regional blocks can finally now agitate for a United States of Africa.
Correct.
One country called Africa. Then your countries, those become now, what are they called? They are called like provinces.
Correct.
Yeah. So you become a president or a governor of that, like you see in
Of a federation.
like you see in America.
Correct.
There is a governor in Washington. There is a governor here. Those are provinces.
Yeah.
So Africa will be one country. Then Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Sudan, South Sudan. Now they become provinces with governors.
With the government.
That has been the agenda. Slowly, when you see people coming from 3 countries to 9, then you see Sahel chasing away you people, France from the Sahel region, saying we want to manage our affairs.
Correct.
You see Uganda ably entrenching itself on the ground in Congo.
Yes.
Congolese president pushing away the East African regional forces, but saying Uganda army, you can stay.
Correct.
It means Museveni has been doing something.
Museveni is a solid poker power.
Very good. Now, the Besigye issue. You know, like you can walk 20 kilometers.
Yes.
Then you walk again. You walk 20 kilometers ahead. Then you walk 30 kilometers back.
Yes.
This is what is happening here.
This is what is happening.
When you arrest Besigye from Kenya, from a Pan-African perspective, you are now going back. Because right now as I speak, it is the Pan-African lawyers being led by Karua Martha, the international acclaimed human rights defender and Pan-African. No doubt about that. She's the one coordinating Pan-African lawyers from all over the globe, all over the continent, to fight for Besigye's rights. Because when you say Besigye has been here,
you're correct.
For all the years he has been fighting you for the most 25 years.
He has fight a lot.
He has never been found with a gun in his home.
Yes.
Even the day of leaving Uganda to Kenya, he passed through the normal channels at the airport.
Yes.
They checked him.
Yeah.
He reached at the Kenyan authorities. They checked him.
Yes.
He had no gun.
Yes.
The authorities in the hotel where he slept, they said, we don't know that anybody entered with a gun because our machines here did not see any gun entering. It is the Ugandan spies that are finding a gun in his room. But the management of the hotel did not see it. The Kenyan authorities at the airport of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, did not see it. The Ugandan authorities at Entebbe airport did not see the gun. No. How come you 2, 3, 4 people, you find a gun in Besigye's room? That's number 1. Number 2, suppose Besigye had the gun. What do protocols demand? Protocols demand that it is the Kenyan authority to arrest Besigye.
Correct.
Charge him.
Correct. Because it's
not
Kenyan
Uganda.
Kenya.
Those files are managed. Kenya is an independent country. It's a sovereign country.
How would you react?
Anybody who commits an offense in Kenya is not tried by Uganda. He is tried by Kenya.
And that's respect.
Anybody who commits an offense in Uganda, even if you're a Kenyan, you commit an offense in Uganda, you are tried by Ugandan authorities.
Correct.
But as a Kenyan, they will say a Kenyan national has been sentenced to Luzira for ABCD offense. Not Besigye being arrested from Kenya, brought to Uganda. Now, people from our own perspective as Pan-Africans, we are beginning to say, wait a minute. Once upon a time when Gaddafi was so powerful in Africa, Gaddafi would do anything in Africa. He uses his power.
Correct.
If he doesn't want you, you are in Kenya, he can fish you out. The same America is doing.
Correct.
America picks people here from Uganda here. No passport, no nothing. They pick you like a grasshopper. They put in their UN chopper. They fly you to Guantanamo Bay. They bank you there. If they want, they kill you there. No passport, no nothing. That power, America uses it across the world.
Across the world.
America, if they want you to suffer here,
shamelessly,
they don't need a visa. They don't need permit. They simply put their chopper. They have their own airport at the Entebbe airport. Their own base. The Entebbe International Airport has a section of the entire airport for you in America. So that's why they bring you in their car, they put you in, they drive you away.
That is done.
That's what happened with you remember with this man, Rukira Besigye. He had no passport. In a minute, he found himself in Germany. But you who wants to go to Germany right now, the protocols you will go through,
Yeah, you can't.
they will even tell you without it, you cannot move.
It's correct.
Without a passport, you can't go. Without a visa, you can't go. But when they wanted to rescue Rukirabashize from Uganda, it took him 24 hours to be in Germany. No passport, no nothing.
No, nothing.
Same up. Now, people begin to think that Museveni, you are addressing a cup of Pan-Africanism, but under the cup, you are trying to use that infrastructure to achieve your own selfish interests. And so people will now begin alienating themselves from the agenda,
Okay, you're right. Correct.
from the Pan-African agenda, simply because you have arrested a person you don't agree with politically called Dr. Besigye.
That's
I
correct.
want to hear you. Our final word.
I think in this show we've been
I've given you a very good background,
Very
so
good.
that you don't meander. I know when it comes to Uganda, I want you to speak.
No, it is quite clear in this show that we have put two values at the forefront of also what Pan-Africanism is. The first one is sovereignty, the second one is dignity. We keep repeating those words. We keep saying that we need dignity, we need sovereignty, so country are sovereign, right? Now imagine if me, with my French passport, I come to Uganda, right? And then I do certain things, and then suddenly
France wants to try you from there.
France is coming here with his soldiers or whatever. They capture me and they send me back to France, right, or something like this. But the people I killed, the people I had issues
Are Ugandans.
with, were Ugandans.
Yes.
Right? Would you accept
You
that?
offended Ugandans.
Would you accept
Not-
that I've been judged in France to kill an Ugandan? That would make no sense, right? So we cannot have
And the argument you are bringing, the same argument Kagame brought. Kagame. When there was genocide in Rwanda, 1994,
correct.
France and other countries committed crimes there.
Yes.
Nobody tried them.
No.
But when they saw they needed to try Rwandese,
Then they
committing
tried.
crimes in Rwanda,
Correct.
committing them against Rwandese in Rwanda, they said, you come to France, we'll try you.
Yep. How does it make sense?
So Kagame was asking, please, tell me something. The people they killed are Rwandese in Rwanda. What have they got to do with France?
What are they going to do there? What are they going to do? So we cannot have double standard. We cannot say that we don't want foreign power to come to interfere with African country sovereignty, and then when Uganda is doing it, we clap. No, it's not possible. There is law in Kenya, right? There is law in Kenya. Besigye, I've been to Kenya. He respected the law, yes or no? If he didn't respect the law, then the Kenyans should tell us, not Ugandans. It should be Kenyans telling us, listen, you Ugandan leader have not respect our law. What are we going to do? If they do that and then they go to Museveni and say, listen, this guy hasn't respect our law. What are we supposed to do with him? Then maybe something can be done. But you cannot come to a foreign country, arrest someone on a law that is from your very own country. No one can come to arrest you to say, no, you have violated a law in Australia. That is not possible. That's not going to happen. So if such things happened, what it means is that Uganda do not respect, at this point, Museveni or the president didn't respect, or who operated this one. Who operated this operation did not respect the sovereignty of Kenya. And if we don't respect the sovereignty of Kenya, why do we expect Kenya to respect our sovereignty? Why do we expect Kenya to actually respect our laws and our politicians and us as society with the decision that the society makes? We cannot have those dual standards, right? We cannot have those dual standards. And definitely there's some selfish elements in how the operation was made, right?
30 seconds.
We still need clarity on who ordered it and why and what was the reasons. But what is quite clear is also a signal for me that the campaign for the next election have started.
Hey.
The campaign has started, and that's one of the very first. When we will tell the story of the next election, we will start by speaking of one of the main political opponents being arrested before even he can raise campaign, before even he can raise funds so he can campaign. Because what is happening here is that all that time he's going to pass in jail or in front of the judge, he cannot raise fund that is going to serve him for a campaign here in Uganda. Because remember, democracy is expensive.
Yeah.
And we do not want foreign powers to give them money. So we prefer Besigye to go around the world and say, listen, I'm going to do A, B, C, D for my country. I need your help. Right? Because if it's foreign powers coming to him or to Bobby Wine or to opposition and say, listen, we're going to give you $5 million, but as soon as you are in power, we want ABCD favor. We don't want that situations, right? So for me, it's the first act of the campaign of 2026. And I do believe that it's also a crack in the Pan-African record of President Museveni.
Thank you, sir. On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thomas Lesafri, senior researcher, a Pan-African at that, and a member of the Pan-African Pyramid, and he heads the research desk at the SPA Uganda and Pan-African Pyramid, and is also a recipient of the Pan-African Pyramid Global Award, a recipient, a cohort of 2024. Comrade Lesafri, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
On 20th of December, Comrade Lesafri, we are moving with you to a refugee camp. It's in Western Uganda. Every December, as a gesture, as Pan-Africans, we collect relief aid, take them to refugees. So this December 20th, we shall be moving to Chukube district. It's in Western Uganda.
That's where Ugandans are some of the most Pan-African people I've met in this continent. If I can just say that, because the amount of refugees that are welcome in this country, whatever from Sudan, whatever from Congo, or even recently from the Kenyan riots, all the time, they are welcome, they can start businesses, they can start to have dignity and to have a life here that their very own country don't allow them to have. And never ever I've heard Ugandans complaining about those refugees or xenophobia. It's pure Pan-Africanism. It's from the south. It's not even thought. It's pure Pan-Africanism.
It comes from the bottom heart.
And what we're doing with I will be really pleased to come and see some of those refugees and meet some of those refugees.
We will be going together.
As Pan-Africans, it is a really glorious things to do.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you so much. My name is Andrew Irumba Katsabe, your speaker. This is the Pan-African Weekly Round Table. Thank you.